Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I'm going to be going over with you guys 10 different cheap fragrances that you should know about. These are fragrances that in general don't get talked about a whole lot. Some of these fragrances I have reviewed in the past and a couple of them I've featured in lists, but these ones fly under the radar. I know that cheap is kind of relative, but each one of these, as of this video, you can pick up for under 30 bucks from FragranceNet or FragranceX, and I'll tell you which one I used for the pricing on each one of these as we go. Lots to talk about, lots to go over. Let's jump into this. All right guys, before we go over this first fragrance, I need to let you know that the pricing for FragranceNet was calculated using their 35% off code. They have a 25% off code, which is what you'll usually see if you go to their website. It's toward the top. It says put in your email address and get 25% off. They actually have 35%. As of this video, that code is RENG7. In the future, it will change because FragranceNet kind of swaps these codes out every so often. But as of right now, that's the code that you can use for 35% off. All right, first fragrance here is from Davidoff. It's a cool water flanker, and it is cool water Aquaman. Yeah, like Jason Momoa, DC superhero, Aquaman. This one you can pick up for $18.84 on FragranceNet. And officially, this is a limited edition. I don't know if it's a real limited edition, as in once the stock sells out, it's gonna become really hard to find, or if it's one of those fake limited editions that 10 years from now, you're still gonna be able to find. This one has green mandarin, pepper, and gaiac wood as the notes in the fragrance. It's one of those scents where they really keep it simple. A whole 3 notes to let you know how it smells. Does this one smell very similar to the original Cool Water? Nah, not really. Maybe a really small bit of that Cool Water DNA in here, but this isn't very close to the original. This one ultimately is a slightly sweet aquatic fragrance, really easy to wear. One of those springtime, summertime casual fragrances. You could potentially wear it to the gym as well. And for the price, it is a great deal. It's actually surprisingly much better than you would expect for a sub $20 Cool Water flanker based around freaking Aquaman. That is a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for straight crap, but the fragrance is actually good. Now, it's not a fragrance that's super unique, but for the price, it's really hard to do much better. It's fresh, it's clean, it's appealing, it's a little bit sweet, it's versatile. Lots of people can get a bunch of use out of this one. You're either gonna think it's cool, the association with a superhero, or you're gonna think it's lame, but for the price, like I said a couple times, hard to beat. Let's go from there to a fragrance that is somehow even cheaper. This one costs next to nothing, $12.74. Now that's for a tester, so you don't get the full presentation, but it comes with the cap, which is the most important part. A lot of people don't like that about testers when they buy one that has no cap. This one's got it. So under 13 bucks, Police Legend for men. And I priced this one at FragranceX. Even though this one does come with a cap, some of you might wish it didn't. It's got these little spikes all over it, and sometimes these Police Legend caps can get wedged on there really tight where you have to really grab it and pull to get the cap off, and then it kind of leaves indentions all over your hand where you pulled the cap off. This one has lavender, absinthe, amberwood, and star anise as some of the notes in the fragrance. And it has a little bit of a similarity to Mont Blanc Legend. I know this one's called Police Legend, that one's Mont Blanc Legend, but there is a little bit of a similarity between the two. And of course, Mont Blanc Legend is similar to Fierce from Abercrombie & Fitch. So this is a fragrance that's like 2 steps removed from Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce. So don't go into this thinking it's an exact clone or anything like that, or an exact replica of Fierce, but it's gonna give you a little bit of a similar vibe, and really that's because of the way that lavender is used here. It's used very similarly to how it is in that fragrance. It is very fresh, it's masculine, another fragrance that's very versatile, great casual fragrance, office safe as well. When you first spray this one on, it does smell a little bit cheap, but after you let it settle down, 3-4 minutes, it gets a lot better. So Police Legend, 12 bucks, $12.74 technically, really good deal. Up next, a fragrance from Kenneth Cole. It is in their Mankind line, not the WWF Mankind, but this Mankind Legacy. This one's got balsam fir, it has cedar, there's mandarin orange in here as well. This one is a really nice, spicy, woody fragrance. Again, very clean, very masculine, very modern. This is the most expensive fragrance in this list, and it's a whole whopping $27.94 from FragranceNet. Again, that's with the 35% off coupon. This one's a really nice compliment puller. For the price, the quality is great, very safe in the office as well. So this one's going to appeal to you most if you're looking for just a fresh, masculine, modern, wood-based fragrance. Check this one out. This next one you can pick up for $22.94 from FragranceX. It is 4711 Remix Cologne, and this is the 2018 version. The original 4711 is all the time mentioned as a great alternative to Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino, kind of like Neroli Portofino on a shoestring budget, because it costs next to nothing and you can get huge bottles of it, massive bottles. The only issue with that really is the longevity. It's an eau de cologne, doesn't last very long. A lot of people will tell you though that it's not supposed to last a long time. It's just supposed to be refreshing. It's supposed to uplift your spirits and then kind of dissipate really quickly. 4711 Remix, again 2018 version, takes 4711 and does exactly what it says. Remixes it a little bit. So as you can probably tell by the coloration here, this one adds in bitter orange, a good amount of bitter orange, actually becoming one of the most prominent notes in the fragrance. There's also neroli in here, there's bergamot, there's tea, there's musk. It definitely will remind you of 4711, the original, just with a little bit of a twist, like I said, with that bitter orange being added in. And actually, I don't think it's my imagination. I get better performance from this one than the original 4711. So this one right here, absolutely fantastic in high heat situations, to the office, or casually. It doesn't last a huge amount of time, but as I just mentioned, longer than the original. This next one is $25.34 from FragranceNet, one of my favorite fragrances from the house, Starwalker from Mont Blanc. This one has bamboo, bergamot, sandalwood, and ginger as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one is really relaxing. It's just a really mellow kind of fragrance. The bamboo gives it this watery vibe, a little bit of sweetness from the citrus. It's, like I said, one of the absolute best fragrances from the house, and it's really cheap. You get kind of a creamy, soft, woody dry down here with the base being sandalwood. A little bit of that ginger pops in the opening, but really the bamboo is what draws me in, keeps me coming back. It's a very unique note, the way that it's used here. This doesn't smell like any other designer fragrance out there, in my opinion. This one gets overlooked as far as Mont Blanc goes. Most people go for Legend. You know, they get that cheap, fierce kind of fix with that, or Legend Spirit, smelling like Invictus Aqua, or Explorer, of course, with the Aventus kind of vibe. This one doesn't really take inspiration from anything else out there so much, does its own thing, does it really well. This next fragrance I have reviewed, and you can get it now for under 20 bucks, $18.84 on FragranceNet, and that is an absolute 100% steal. It is Yop Homme Ice. This one has plum, it's got orange blossom, tobacco, and sandalwood as some of the notes in the fragrance. Now, if you don't know anything about this, you hear that note breakdown, you're gonna think to yourself maybe, that doesn't sound very icy. And the name of the fragrance is Ice. The bottle has this kind of iced color to it. So what's going on there? And the answer to that is it's not really an icy fragrance. It's not really what I would consider a summertime scent. And the opening, is there a little bit of a refreshing feel? Sure. But ultimately, this is more of a spring fall kind of fragrance. The plum in here is the most prominent fruity note, and plum is not really overly bright. It's usually a little bit deeper. It's got a little more richness to it, and it does here as well. Then of course, as it dries down, you get that tobacco coming out, you get sandalwood. As I said, a little bit warmer than you would expect, not really icy. But the fragrance itself, really good for the price. Under 20 bucks, home run. It's a big compliment puller, it's very versatile, and it smells much more expensive than it cost at discounters. Up next, another fragrance that I've reviewed, Pepe Jeans Celebrate. Now this one's available, as of this video, for $25.49 at FragranceX. Problem with that, it's almost sold out. And on FragranceNet, as of this video, it is sold out. I've mentioned this before, but Pepe Jeans seems to be a brand that when they tell you something's limited, they actually mean it. So if you're interested in picking this one up, I would suggest doing it before the stock sells all the way out. This one has cacao, it's got tonka, it has amberwood and black currant. Not the same, but similar feel as fragrances like Pure XS from Paco Rabanne or even Bad Boy by Carolina Herrera. The black currant gives you this really nice tart, fruity sweetness in the opening, and as it dries down, it becomes all about that cacao, that tonka, and that amberwood. This one is a big compliment puller, big attention grabber, and much better than you would expect from a house that people really don't know in a bottle that a lot of people think is kind of tacky. From there, let's go to this one, Salvatore Ferragamo Uomo Urban Feel. This is probably the most overlooked fragrance in the Uomo line. As of right now, you can get it for $22.74 on FragranceNet. That's for a tester bottle though, so not a full presentation. This one's got bergamot, it's got ambroxan, driftwood, and ozonic notes in the note breakdown. And this one, like the bottle kind of suggests, is a blue fragrance. So that means it's going for just maximum versatility, complement factor, the type of scent that you can use nearly year round. That's what they're trying to pull off here. The driftwood in here for me gives it a nice salty, woody edge that I really like, especially as it dries down. Ultimately though, this one is going to be centered more around ambroxan and the citrus off the top. It is though a little bit more unique than you might think. A lot of people just kind of wrote this one off, said, oh, it's really generic, it's boring. But if you give it a fair shot, if you give it a shake, it's actually not really any more generic than a lot of the other blue fragrances out there. It does its own thing, smells really good for the price, and for what you would want this fragrance to do, which is be versatile and pull compliments, it does both really well. All right, next up, let's go with this one, Anonymous by Talion. This right here has the cheapest presentation of everything on the list. It's really not close. The presentation here is not great. And that's because it just feels kind of cheap in the hand, and you've got these plastic bits and bobs on it that look like at any moment they're going to crack or something like that. But the fragrance itself is really a good buy. And that's because it costs $14.94 from FragranceNet. And that is a full presentation, though the box that this comes in is even cheaper than the bottle. So it's not like you're gonna keep it. This has mint, apple, geranium, and amberwood as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one right here smells a bit similar to another very popular fragrance, which is Versace Eros. So you could definitely say that this fragrance is an inspired by fragrance, that it's inspired by Eros. It's got mint and apple in here that's used pretty much the exact same way as Eros, and as it dries down, it has that sweetness as well. Now, it's not gonna smell quite as good as Eros. It doesn't have quite the punch of Eros either, but for the price, under 15 bucks, if you want something that smells similar to Eros, go with this. And last up on this list, we've got a Ferrari fragrance. It's Scuderia Forte. And this one you can pick up for $20.79 on FragranceNet. This one has plum, cinnamon, vanilla, and pineapple as some of the notes in the fragrance. Yeah, pineapple, kind of the odd note out there in those four. It gets compared to a Gentleman Only Absolute. And actually, color-wise, the bottles do match up pretty well. This one is a really warm fragrance. It actually lasts a good amount of time. For the price that you pay here, the performance is really good. Well above average for me. It's mainly that sweet plum, that spicy cinnamon, and then more sweet, rich vanilla as it dries down. It's a great fall fragrance, a great winter fragrance, and a great night out fragrance, which really makes sense when you look at the coloration, read the notes. It basically does exactly what it's being advertised as. And that fragrance right there is gonna wrap this list up of 10 different cheap fragrances that you should at least be aware of. Lots of these are very, very, very versatile fragrances that you can use in almost any situation. And all of these fragrances are on the more appealing side of things. None of these are really particularly challenging. Let me know in the comments below, guys, some of your absolute favorite cheap fragrances that you've picked up over the years. Let me know around about what you picked them up for too. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.